It is now my great privilege to call on His Excellency José Ramos-Horta, President of the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste, Nobel Peace Prize recipient. Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Excellencies, Presidents, Prime Ministers, former Presidents, former Prime Ministers, allow me to begin my remarks today by bowing in profound sorrow for the senseless murder of 170 Iranian school children, their teachers, killed by multiple bombing raids on a clearly identified school during the first day of the US-Israel attacks against Iran. We must not be numbed by such senseless cruelty. I bow to Hind Rajab and to all children killed, wounded, orphaned, starving across the many conflicts plaguing our planet. May those responsible have nightmares for the rest of their lives. I wish to thank Excellency President Aliyev and the Nizami Ganjavi International Center for once again bringing us to Baku. I congratulate the President for the 2026 ZED Award for Human Fraternity, a well-deserved recognition of his leadership in ending decades of conflict with Armenia. I equally congratulate the co-winner, His Excellency Nikol Pashinyan, Prime Minister of Armenia. The historic peace agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia came at a time when there is a glaring deficit of enlightened leaders of peace in the world. In honesty and objectively, I shall not make simplistic and unfair judgments assigning responsibility for every conflict raging in the world to a particular global or regional leader. I have written a speech, and I try to keep it short, but I will even skip through some paragraphs to keep with the time allocated to me. I refer to the catastrophe Russia-Ukraine war, now Israel-US war in Palestine, US-Israel war in Iran, the many conflicts around the world. We know all about the Balfour Declaration, the two-state solution, the 1948 Nakba, mass expulsion, the expropriation of Palestinians from their ancestral lands, and the countless UNGA UN Security Council resolutions on Palestinian universally recognized rights, etc. Peace is as elusive as ever, a mirage in a desert of principle, ethics, empathy, audacity. More than 75 years later, the Israeli-Palestinian dichotomy is burning the Middle East, inflaming the region, impacts on almost everyone in the world. Iran, this great nation of 7,000 years of a complex, erudite civilization, has endured decades of misfortune, first under Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Ayatollah's revolution, the war unleashed by Saddam Hussein with the widespread use of biological weapons on the Kurds, on Shias, and the war that lasted 8 years and reproduced 1 million dead and total destruction. Then Saddam Hussein could not claim victory against Iran, and the peace was achieved. Many other wars erupted then. But there are other countries led by wiser leaders, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. They deliver prosperity and peace and share prosperity with less fortunate peoples around the world. And now we have another war, one such war that is easily preventable. If we talk about conflict prevention, this war now launched against Iran with Iran's retaliation was one of the classic situations that it could have been prevented. Excellencies, the cumulative wisdom of the luminaries who have shared our vast knowledge on the themes of war and peace, governance, democracy, prosperity, prevention of conflict, we all failed in preventing the US and Israel from unleashing this latest war, consequences of which have been felt very painfully by all, including by the two who initiated it. And they seem to have forgotten the cruelest lessons, not lessons of past centuries. When we talk about lessons of the past, we might imagine lessons of centuries ago. No, we are talking about lessons of nearby wars, the Iran-Iraq war, the Kuwait war invaded by Iraq, the NATO folly in Afghanistan, the blood of so many spilled in the deserts of Iraq, in the forbidden mountains of Afghanistan, dried up, bodies buried, hundreds of thousands barely alive with post-traumatic syndrome disorder. When leaders do not retain lessons of history, history repeats itself, corpses pile up. Excellencies, we had 80 years of relative clarity, an imperfect system of rules, values, institutions. Now we find ourselves sleepwalking into the abyss. Amidst uncertainty, wars grinding on, humanitarian catastrophes shock some conscience, but fail to provide practical collective response. Rules apply to smaller, weaker countries. This is a fact now. But international law cannot be applied selectively. When rules are perceived to protect some while constrain others, their legitimacy erodes and trust that sustains international cooperation begins to disappear. I mention here ongoing situations in Iran, Sahel, Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, DRC, Yemen, Gaza, Ukraine, where entire population face widespread violence and death. And the international community seems to have abandoned its responsibility to act to prevent. Wars between powerful states or regional actors reverberate across the global economy. The countries that feel these shocks first are often those not responsible for the conflict. Small developing nations striving to ensure food security, social protection, sustainable development. Mother Nature is increasingly ignored. Developing countries that continue to erode the right to a better future for the poorest. Development agenda is marginalized as countries focus on the exertion of raw power and self-interest as opposed to collective prosperity. Small and middle powers must lead by example, showing we still understand why these mechanisms are vital and should be cherished. I would also note, as a close friend of mine from another ASEAN country said at the Munich Security Conference, that for the West, the multilateral system is dead. We in the East are trying to keep it alive and to revive it to what it can be for us all. I would respectfully ask those Western leaders to consider that we all might be losing if that continues. We, Timor-Leste, reiterate our support for evolving United Nations mechanisms, Security Council reform, to make it more relevant and representative. There are debates on these issues happening beyond these rooms. Those who wish to ignore institutions and norms effectively use media, social networks, digital platforms to spread narratives that weaken trust and incite confrontation in the international system. Multilateral institutions may not be perfect, but it's one where we all have a seat and a voice. The alternative is a world governed by power alone. If we are denied a seat at the table, or the table itself is removed, we are on the menu for larger powers. Multilateralism, laws, rules, restraint of power, collaborative institutions are not the cause of our crisis. They are what we turn to when crises threaten to overwhelm us. They underpin a safe and prosperous future. Yes, they must adapt, but the answer to those who accuse them of dysfunction is not their abandonment. Together, we can leave behind for future generations a system better than the one we have today. May God bless us all. Thank you.